And welcome to the MU8900 screencast for class on Wednesday, March 25th on Chapter 9, The Performer. Before we begin, I want to share a quick and important announcement with you about the syllabus, which has been revised, particularly the course calendar. So if you take a look at the calendar, previously we had several days that were set aside for our project presentations. Because we will not meet in person for those presentations, I have chosen to distribute or redistribute course content to cover those days. So from this point forward, we will meet basically once per week, or I will present with you materials online for class once per week, and you can see again how they've been redistributed. There was, I think, maybe one change in the order, so just make sure that you keep in touch with the calendar. I will continue to update you on regarding upcoming readings, etc. But this is also up to date in Canvas, so you can see all of these changes right there. All right, let's get into our class session today. I'm going to begin with a couple of quotes. A woman who works with her hands is a laborer. A woman who works with her hands and her brain is a craftswoman. But a woman who works with her hands and her brain and her heart is an artist. And there's not enough sax and violins on television. Okay, so announcements. What are some things that are coming up for our class? We have The Nature of Expertise, which is an article that you can find online in Google folder. That's for next Wednesday, April 1st. I hope you'll enjoy that read. Musician interview is due this Friday, March 27th at 12 p.m. I hope that the additional time has made it more readily achievable for you. We have the Reader's Choice, which is coming up next Wednesday, April 1st at 12 p.m. All the details for these projects are, of course, available in Canvas. Your preoccupation videos, there are 5 of you who haven't yet performed for us. Those are due Friday, April 10th at 12 p.m. And everybody should contribute to the Google Doc discussion before Monday, April 13th at 12 p.m. If you're wondering where that Google Doc discussion is, go to our online page and visit the online snapshot. Snapshot has links to many of these projects and some of the details there. All right, I'll keep you posted on that also. Finally, our final project is due on Wednesday, April 15th at 12 p.m. Let me know if you have any questions about these items. Okay, on to our chapter on the performer. I have a musical share for you, and what I would like for you to do is for you to view one of these videos. You feel free to watch more than one or all of them. I find them really quite enjoyable. But for the purpose of today's class or this week's class, what I want you to do is view one, and you're going to do a review in the Google Doc discussion for today. That's part of your discussion activity for this week's class. And another part of that discussion will be a question that was posed early in the chapter on performance. I want for you to list musical skills that you need to regularly tend to. This would be a good journaling item, but the way that I'm posing the question is I want you to list 5 or more specific skills. Things like working on your French vocal diction, certain performance practices that you need to continue to sharpen regularly. Okay, so the chapter emphasizes many of the overlooked aspects involved with performance. One would be communication with audience, and we can ask ourselves the question, what are the ways that we do communicate with our audience, if at all? What are some of the bodily movements? And I am going to go ahead and share this is a fun view, hopefully for you anyway. This is the crazy drummer. When I read about bodily movements, this was one of the first things that came to mind. Silk suit, black tie, but I don't need a reason why. sharp-dressed man. All right, so you get the idea with that. If you want to watch more, you can just look up the crazy drummer on YouTube. What are the stage behaviors that we engage in when we perform? How do we cope with stress? And a quote for you from page 167. The formality of the classical conventions is not found in all performance traditions, such as jazz, folk, and other popular music, in which the people on stage are not as psychologically separated from those in the audience. So, I feel that there still may be some hint of truth to this, but keep in mind this book was published in 2007, and I think classical musicians are finding different ways to connect with their audience, and we see some different behaviors among classical musicians. The authors reference the Canadian brass. We had the Dallas brass in Duluth recently, and certainly they have some unique ways of communicating with the audience, stage humor, etc. Okay, so on gesture and communication, I'm going to read for you a segment from page 169, and if you've got your book there, go ahead and grab it and you can read along. This had to do with a study on evaluating musicians' expressive performance. I'm at the bottom of 169. A group of musicians evaluated the performance recordings working in sound only, vision only, and sound and vision conditions. Adjudicators relying on sound only were largely unable to distinguish between the normal and exaggerated expressive manners of performance. However, both the vision only and sound and vision conditions allowed differentiation between the levels of expression. So one of the things that we'll note from this chapter are the importance of visual representation in performance. Here's another telling thing for us to consider as performers. The degree to which performers are prepared and feel confident when the curtain rises is usually readily perceived by spectators. We've all probably experienced this, both as performers and as spectators. You kind of have a sense of confidence, for example, in the performer as they enter the stage. So a question for you to journal about: how would you describe your personal optimal state of flow? We've talked about flow a little bit. It's referenced in the book on page 173. You did a little bit of discussion here when you completed your first project on it was like the ideal performer self. But revisit this question and consider, okay, what does it feel like to be in that optimal state of, in this case, performance flow? Do you close your eyes when you perform? This is an interesting thought, but personally, I don't very often, but I have found that in older age, I tend to do it a little bit more when I'm improvising. Okay, there's a section on collaboration, working in ensembles and some of the collaborative processes. Interesting quote: half the battle of making music together and ultimately staying together as an ensemble is fought on social grounds. So they're raising the importance of how well do people get along? What is the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's the continuity. What kinds of connections do we have with the musicians with whom we perform? What kinds of non-formal music-making activities have you engaged in? Some of you have shared this in your music preoccupation, and I have that as an optional third question in the discussion for today. So again, that's in the Google Doc. You can see the specific items that are listed there. Finally, professional musicians seldom dedicate their careers solely to performance. This would be the other optional question in what is a third item for the Google Doc discussion. So what are some of the other things that you do outside of performance in terms of composition? What kinds of entrepreneurial things do you do musically, etc.? Section on life demands of the profession. We certainly face unique expectations and psychological demands as musicians. And they make the interesting point that musicians tend to identify more closely with our work and then do people in other professions. I think we can all probably relate to this. One just kind of an interesting anecdote. If I've already told you this story, sorry, I love to tell stories. But when I was an elementary music teacher in Ruskin, Florida, I taught this young man. His name is Aaron Carter. He's the younger brother of Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys. Well, here are two pictures of Aaron. The right, as he's grown up, so to speak. The performance lifestyle has certainly had an impact on Aaron Carter, and I don't keep up, so I don't know exactly what's going on in his life these days. I know he's definitely faced some difficulties in life as a part of being in the musical lifestyle, so to speak. I hope he's doing well. All right, on a few quick thoughts on personality and also physical health. The authors note that musicians tend to demonstrate certain personality characteristics, including introversion, neuroticism, independence, and also sensitivity. The research was specific to classical musicians. We might ask ourselves if this is true for us, and if so, to what extent, maybe not. Also, musicians are subject to certain physical ailments. I wish we had the opportunity to discuss this, but some of you may be facing difficulties with things like tendonitis, hearing loss. It's something for us certainly to be mindful of, and that we want to be able to take care of ourselves so we can have as long and happy a musical life as possible. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. If you will, please go to our Canvas site and make sure that you view the online materials. There is a link to the discussion, and I will keep in touch. Remember to view the syllabus revisions. This will be it for the week, so you have some discussion items to address on Thursday and Friday or before those days. So good luck, take care, be well, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week.